"Women don't belong in submarines," Commander Jack Stevens declared as Captain Lisa Rodriguez took command of USS Scorpion. 200 feet underwater, with oxygen running out and all systems failing, Stevens was about to learn that survival doesn't care about your gender. It only cares about who can think clearly under crushing pressure. What happened in the next 6 hours didn't just save 127 crew members. It proved that sometimes the person you don't want in command is exactly the person who can navigate through the impossible when everyone else has lost their way. The USS Scorpion cut through the dark waters of the Pacific Ocean like a steel predator, her nuclear-powered engines pushing the attack submarine through depths where sunlight had never penetrated. At 377 feet long and carrying a crew of 127, she represented the pinnacle of American naval engineering and the ultimate test of underwater warfare capability. Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood in the submarine's control room, studying sonar readings that showed nothing but empty ocean for hundreds of miles in every direction. At 34, she was the youngest female submarine captain in Navy history, and after 6 months of command, she was still fighting for the respect of a crew that had made their feelings about female leadership abundantly clear. Commander Jack Stevens, the submarine's executive officer, had been passed over for command when Lisa was promoted. His resentment filled the control room like a toxic atmosphere that the ship's air recycling system couldn't filter out. "Captain," Stevens said, his voice carrying the barely controlled hostility that had characterized their relationship since day one, "the crew is requesting permission to speak freely about the upcoming inspection." Lisa didn't need to ask what that meant. Fleet Command was sending Admiral Harrison to evaluate her performance next week, and Stevens had been undermining her authority for months, convincing the crew that a woman couldn't handle the psychological pressure of commanding a nuclear submarine in combat conditions. "Commander Stevens," Lisa replied calmly, "the crew's concerns have been noted, but this submarine operates on performance, not opinions." Stevens smiled coldly. "Performance, Captain? Let's see how you perform when things get serious. Women might work fine in surface ships, but down here, 200 feet underwater with no backup, you need someone who won't crack under pressure." What Stevens didn't know was that Lisa had grown up in a family of submarine engineers. Her father had designed hull pressure systems, her brother had died aboard USS Thresher, and she had spent her childhood learning about underwater physics that most officers never fully understood. The crushing depths that Stevens saw as psychological warfare were, to Lisa, simply another engineering problem to be solved. At 0347 hours, during a routine patrol 200 feet beneath the surface, the first alarm sounded. "Captain, we're showing a coolant leak in the main reactor compartment," reported Petty Officer Martinez from the engineering station. Lisa immediately moved to the engineering displays, her mind automatically calculating pressure differentials and coolant flow rates. "How severe is the leak, Martinez?" "Gaining about 2 gallons per hour, ma'am, within acceptable parameters for now, but it's accelerating." Stevens stepped closer, his voice loud enough for the entire control room to hear. "Captain, standard protocol requires immediate surface for reactor inspection. We can't risk a meltdown with a female captain who might panic under pressure." But Lisa was already analyzing the situation from multiple angles. A surface maneuver would expose them to satellite surveillance in hostile waters, and the leak pattern suggested a mechanical failure that could be managed temporarily without compromising reactor safety. "Negative, Commander. We maintain depth and monitor the situation. Martinez, I need minute-by-minute updates on coolant loss rates." "Captain," Stevens said, his voice carrying a warning tone, "you're gambling with 127 lives because you're too stubborn to admit this is beyond your capabilities." 20 minutes later, the second alarm changed everything. "Hull breach detected in compartment 7, called out sonar technician Williams, his voice tight with concern. "Water ingress approximately 15 gallons per minute." Lisa immediately called for damage control teams, but the engineering reports revealed a problem that went beyond routine maintenance. The hull breach was located in a section where recent sonar readings had shown unusual stress patterns, suggesting structural fatigue that could cascade into catastrophic failure. "Captain," Chief Engineer Patterson reported through the intercom, "the breach is located near a weld joint that's been showing microfractures. If it expands, we could lose hull integrity completely." Stevens saw his opportunity. "Captain Rodriguez, this is exactly what I warned Fleet Command about. We're facing multiple system failures, and you're going to get us all killed because you're too proud to surface this submarine." But Lisa was thinking 3 moves ahead. Surfacing would relieve hull pressure temporarily, but it would also expose the submarine to potential enemy action and create thermal shock that could worsen the reactor leak. The solution required underwater repairs that no submarine captain had ever attempted at operational depth. "All hands, this is the captain," Lisa announced over the ship's intercom. "We're going to attempt emergency repairs while maintaining depth. I need complete cooperation and precision from every crew member." The response from the crew was immediate and telling. Voices throughout the submarine could be heard questioning the decision, wondering if their female captain had lost her mind, speculating about whether they should relieve her of command. Stevens made his move. "Captain, as executive officer, I'm formally requesting that you surface this submarine immediately. The crew doesn't have confidence in your ability to handle this emergency." Lisa looked around the control room, seeing doubt and fear in the faces of men who had spent months being told that women couldn't handle submarine command. But she also saw something else, a few crew members who were watching her carefully, waiting to see if she would crumble under the pressure or prove that competence had nothing to do with gender. "Commander Stevens," she said quietly, "I understand your concerns, but I'm not surfacing this submarine, and I'm going to tell you exactly why." Lisa moved to the ship's technical display and began explaining her analysis with the precision of someone who had studied submarine engineering since childhood. The reactor leak is located in a cooling loop that operates more efficiently at depth pressure. Surfacing will create thermal expansion that could turn a manageable leak into catastrophic failure. The hull breach can be sealed using underwater welding techniques, but only if we maintain stable pressure differentials. The control room fell silent as Lisa continued her technical breakdown, demonstrating knowledge of submarine systems that exceeded even Stevens's experience. "Furthermore," she continued, "our current position puts us in a thermal layer that masks our sonar signature. Surfacing would expose us to detection and possible enemy action while we're vulnerable." Chief Engineer Patterson's voice came through the intercom. "Captain, I've reviewed your analysis. You're absolutely correct about the thermal expansion risk. Attempting repairs at depth is dangerous, but surfacing could be catastrophic." One by one, Lisa began implementing a repair strategy that combined technical innovation with psychological leadership. She assigned specific tasks to crew members who had been most vocal in their opposition, putting their expertise to work in ways that demanded their complete focus and cooperation. "Stevens, I need you to coordinate damage control teams. Your experience with emergency protocols is critical to making this work. Martinez, you're our best welder. I need you to attempt something that's never been done before, welding a hull patch while submerged at 200 feet. Williams, your sonar expertise is going to help us navigate these repairs without detection." As the crew began working together under Lisa's direction, something remarkable happened. The same men who had questioned her leadership began seeing her technical competence, her calm under pressure, and her ability to turn crisis into opportunity. The hull repair took 4 hours of underwater welding that pushed both equipment and crew to their absolute limits. Lisa personally supervised each step, demonstrating knowledge of underwater metallurgy that impressed even the most skeptical crew member. The reactor leak required an even more innovative solution. Instead of attempting temporary patches, Lisa implemented a pressure balancing technique that used the submarine's ballast system to maintain optimal cooling pressure while reducing stress on the damaged components. "Captain," Chief Engineer Patterson reported, "I don't know how you knew to do that, but reactor pressure is stabilizing. The leak has stopped completely." By 0830 hours, both emergencies had been resolved through techniques that would later be incorporated into Navy emergency protocols. The submarine surfaced safely, with all crew members accounted for, and all systems operating within normal parameters. But the real change had occurred in the attitudes of the crew, who had spent months undermining their captain's authority. Stevens approached Lisa as she completed her damage assessment reports. His expression carried none of its previous hostility. "Captain," he said quietly, "I owe you an apology. What you did down there, I've never seen anything like it. You saved this boat and every man aboard. Commander, you were doing your job by questioning my decisions, but I hope you'll also do your job by supporting them when they're right." Martinez, the welder who had performed the unprecedented underwater repairs, approached with several other crew members. "Ma'am," he said, "I want you to know that what happened today changed how I think about submarine command. You didn't just fix our problems, you taught us how to fix them ourselves." Lisa nodded appreciatively. "The most important thing I can teach any of you is that leadership isn't about proving you're right. It's about making sure everyone goes home safely. When Admiral Harrison arrived for the scheduled inspection, he found a submarine operating at peak efficiency with a crew that spoke about their captain with genuine respect and admiration. "Captain Rodriguez," Harrison said during his private evaluation, "I've received some interesting reports about your emergency handling procedures. The techniques you developed are being studied for fleet-wide implementation." "Sir, those techniques only work if you have a crew that trusts each other enough to attempt the impossible. That trust has to be earned, not demanded." The Admiral reviewed the incident reports and crew evaluations with growing amazement. "Captain, in 30 years of submarine operations, I've never seen a crew's attitude toward their commander change so dramatically. What did you do differently?" Lisa considered her answer carefully. "Sir, I stopped trying to prove I belonged and started proving I could do the job. The crew didn't need to respect me because I'm a woman. They needed to respect me because I'm a competent submarine captain." Stevens, who had initially opposed Lisa's command, became her strongest advocate. During the crew evaluation interviews, he told Admiral Harrison, "Sir, Captain Rodriguez saved 127 lives by refusing to follow standard protocol. She demonstrated technical knowledge that exceeded my own and leadership skills that turned potential mutiny into complete cooperation." 6 months later, Lisa was promoted to commander and given command of the Navy's newest attack submarine. Her underwater repair techniques were incorporated into submarine emergency training, and her leadership approach became a case study at the Naval War College. But perhaps the most meaningful recognition came from her former crew. When Martinez was promoted to Chief Petty Officer, he specifically requested assignment to Lisa's new submarine. "Ma'am," he said, "I learned more about submarine operations in those 6 hours underwater than I had in my previous 8 years of service. If you'll have me, I'd like to serve under your command again." The woman who didn't belong in submarines had proven that underwater leadership isn't about fitting traditional expectations. It's about understanding that when you're 200 feet underwater with nowhere to run, the only thing that matters is having a captain who can think clearly when everything is going wrong. Lisa Rodriguez had shown that the most dangerous waters require the calmest mind, and that sometimes the person others don't want in command is exactly the person who can navigate through the impossible when everyone else has lost their way. The crushing pressure that was meant to break her had instead revealed the strength that would save everyone aboard.